Constantinople, the Queen of Cities. For 1,000 years, it stood as a beacon of civilization, a testament to Roman might and Christian faith. Its walls, thick and imposing, had repelled countless invaders. Emperors ruled from the Golden Horn, their palaces overlooking the bustling heart of the Byzantine Empire. The year is 1453. A sense of unease hangs in the air. The once mighty Byzantine Empire is but a shadow of its former glory. Only Constantinople, the last bastion, remains. The city was a labyrinth of winding streets and towering structures. Churches stood tall, their domes adorned with glittering mosaics. The Hagia Sophia, a masterpiece of Byzantine architecture, dominated the skyline. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of incense. Golden icons adorned the walls, whispering tales of saints and emperors. Constantinople was a melting pot of cultures. Merchants from across the known world flocked to its harbour. Their ships, laden with silks, spices and precious stones, created a kaleidoscope of colours on the Golden Horn. Scholars and artists found refuge within the city's walls, preserving ancient knowledge and pushing the boundaries of human creativity. But behind this facade of grandeur, a palpable fear lingered. The Ottoman Turks, a rising power in the east, cast a long shadow over the city.
I was just a boy when I first gazed upon the walls of Constantinople. I saw not an impregnable fortress, but a prize waiting to be claimed. My inheritance was one of conquest. My forefathers had carved a vast empire from the decaying remnants of Byzantine Anatolia, yet Constantinople remained elusive.
Mehmed was known for his intellect, devouring books on history, philosophy, and military strategy. He surrounded himself with scholars and artists, fluent in Greek, Arabic, Persian, and Latin. Yet he was also a ruthless pragmatist, a warrior king who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. The conquest of Constantinople became his obsession. It was a strategic necessity, a gateway between East and West. But for Mehmed, it was more than that. He would be the Sultan who achieved what his ancestors could not. In 1451, Mehmed ascended to the throne. He was 21 years old. He had the resources, the manpower, and the iron will to conquer the unconquerable. He would build an army unlike any the world had ever seen. The world watched, holding its breath as the young Sultan prepared to make history. Mehmed II was not a man to be trifled with. He understood the magnitude of his ambition. Constantinople had withstood sieges before. Its walls had mocked the ambitions of kings and emperors, but Mehmed was different. He would bring to bear the full might of the Ottoman Empire. His first act was to isolate the city. He constructed a fortress, Rumeli Hisari, on the European side of the Bosporus. This imposing structure, completed in just 4 months, effectively cut off Constantinople from aid from the Black Sea. It stood as a symbol of Ottoman might, a grim reminder of the impending doom. Next, Mehmed turned his attention to his army. He assembled a fighting force of unprecedented size and ferocity.
The citizens of Constantinople were not oblivious to the storm brewing on the horizon. We had seen the construction of Rumeli Hisari. We had heard the tales of the Ottoman army massing to the east. Fear gripped the city. Yet we clung to hope. Hope rooted in the formidable defenses that had guarded us for centuries.
The Theodosian walls, a masterpiece of Roman engineering, stretched for 4 miles, protecting the city on its landward side. They were a double line of fortifications with towers that soared into the sky. A moat, deep and wide, lay before the outer wall, a treacherous obstacle for any attacker. The city's defenders, though outnumbered, were determined. They were led by Giovanni Giustiniani Longo, a seasoned Genoese soldier of fortune. The stage was set for one of the most epic confrontations in history. On April 6, 1453, the Siege of Constantinople began. The Ottoman army, a vast sea of men and horses, encamped outside the city walls. The air was thick with tension, the silence punctuated by the rhythmic pounding of Ottoman drums. Mehmed had come to claim his prize.
The initial assault was ferocious.
Ottoman troops rushed the walls, ladders raised, siege towers wheeled forward, arrows rained down upon the defenders.
The defenders fought back with equal ferocity. Greek fire, a fearsome liquid fire, was unleashed upon the attackers. The moat ran red with blood, but the walls held.
Mehmed realized that a direct assault would be costly and futile. He ordered a blockade by land and sea. Food and supplies began to dwindle within Constantinople. Mehmed, however, had not abandoned his secret weapon. Day and night, the monstrous bombards hurled their deadly payloads against the walls of Constantinople. The ground trembled with each deafening blast. Stone balls, weighing over a ton, smashed against the fortifications.
One cannon, nicknamed Basilica by the Ottomans, was particularly fearsome. It was a true marvel of engineering, a testament to the skill of Orban, a Hungarian cannon founder who had initially offered his services to the Byzantines.
The defenders watched in horror as Basilica slowly pounded their walls. Each impact sent tremors through the city. The walls, once thought impregnable, began to show signs of weakness. The psychological impact of the bombardment was devastating. Despite the Ottoman blockade, the defenders clung to a sliver of hope. A small fleet of Christian ships had managed to slip through the Bosporus and into the Golden Horn, bringing much-needed supplies and reinforcements. Their presence boosted the morale of the defenders, but it also presented Mehmed with a new challenge.
The Ottoman fleet, anchored at the mouth of the Golden Horn, was unable to break through the chain that barred the entrance. The Sultan needed a way to get his ships past the chain and trap the Christian fleet within the harbor. His solution was audacious, bordering on madness. He would transport his ships overland.
Under the cover of darkness, Ottoman engineers constructed a roadway of greased logs. On this makeshift path, they hauled 70 warships, some over 100 feet long, up the steep hills of Galata and into the Golden Horn. The defenders watched in disbelief as the Ottoman fleet, seemingly defying the laws of nature, appeared on their flank. The bombardment continued relentlessly. Breaches appeared in the once impregnable walls. The defenders fought bravely, desperately plugging the gaps, but their numbers were dwindling. They were exhausted, starving, and losing hope.
On May 29th, after weeks of relentless assault, Mehmed unleashed the final attack. Waves of Ottoman soldiers surged forward, their cries of Allahu Akbar echoing across the battlefield. They poured through the breaches in the walls, overwhelming the exhausted defenders. The fighting was fierce and desperate. Men clashed in hand-to-hand combat, their cries of pain and fury lost in the din of battle.
The streets of Constantinople, once bustling with life, ran red with blood. The air was thick with the stench of death. The last vestiges of resistance began to crumble. As Ottoman troops surged through the city, Emperor Constantine VI, the last of the Roman emperors, rallied his remaining men for one last stand. He knew all was lost, but he chose to die with his city. He removed his imperial regalia and charged into the heart of the battle, never to be seen again. With the death of their emperor, the will of the defenders finally broke. Panic seized the city.
Civilians, fearing for their lives, sought refuge in churches and monasteries. The streets, once filled with the sounds of commerce and laughter, were now filled with the cries of the terrified and the dying. By nightfall, the Ottoman army was in complete control of Constantinople.
Mehmed II, the Conqueror, rode triumphantly through the streets of the fallen city. He made his way to the Hagia Sophia, the greatest church in Christendom, where he dismounted his horse and entered the hallowed halls. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across Europe. It marked the end of an era, the symbolic fall of the Roman Empire. For the Muslim world, it was a moment of triumph, a testament to the rising power of the Ottoman Empire. Mehmed II, true to his word, spared the city from destruction. He allowed the remaining citizens to continue their lives under Ottoman rule. He rebuilt and revitalized Constantinople, renaming it Istanbul, making it the capital of his vast empire. Mehmed II, the Conqueror, went on to rule for another 30 years. He expanded his empire, reformed its laws, and patronized the arts. He is remembered as one of the greatest Ottoman sultans, a brilliant strategist and a ruthless conqueror. The legacy of the fall of Constantinople is complex and multifaceted.